into the land of unseen miracles, unseen miracles. There's been a change in me. I'm leaving normalcy, free falling into destiny. There's been a change.
And good morning. Welcome to Community Voice here on WOBB News Talk 1330 AM, FM 106.3. We are very, very excited to have some wonderful individuals here in the station with us this morning. If you are not aware already, if you haven't been hearing the promos running since Friday of last week, Graddick is proud to be in partnership with Encounter Ministries, the Fraternal Order of Police, and Russum Trucking for an Hurricane Michael disaster relief project happening here in Carrollton. I'm joined in the station this morning with Carrollton police officer and the president of the Fraternal Order of Police, Mr. Eddie LeBlanc, pastor of Encounter Ministries, Kevin Rains, and two special guests, Miss Anna Maddox and Mr. Chris Lewis. Thank you guys for coming in this morning.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yes.
So, first of all, I'd like to kind of get to know a little bit about you. I'm sure a lot of our listeners have had the chance to meet you either in your congregation or they've got to meet you in your capacity as a Carrollton police officer. Eddie, tell me a little bit about the Fraternal Order of Police, what kind of work you guys do here in the community, and what brought you together here with Encounter Ministries.
Well, the Fraternal Order of Police was formed many years ago. We do all kinds of community outreaches and community things in the community. It goes from helping members that have financial difficulties. A couple members just had their family members had cancer.
Sure.
There's other things going in the community that we help. The handcuff. We help school systems, Special Olympics. We have special camps. There's quite a few things that the Fraternal Order of Police does throughout the community. We have one coming up soon, as you're aware, the Shop with a Cop. That we take kids that want to go financially, their families are financially having difficulties, and go and shop with them, and we really, really enjoy having a good time taking them shopping.
And I think that's great too,
because
I mean, it's in December.
Yes.
I mean, you guys, you work so hard to serve the community as it is. So it always meant so much to me when I first moved here a few years ago that I could see something like that happening in our community, especially at such a tough time for a lot of families that don't have.
Right.
I mean, that's very inspiring when you get to see that come together. Now, how are you connected with Encounter Ministries?
Encounter Ministries, I actually attend the ministry group that we go out and outreach and do ministry work out in the community.
Sure. Oh, that's fantastic. And speaking of Encounter Ministries, the pastor of Encounter Ministries here in Carrollton, Mr. Kevin Rains. Tell me a little bit about Encounter Ministries, sort of how you came to Carrollton. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, we're a unique group. That's one of the basic things that we like to say is we're a unique group. We come together because a lot of us have a past.
Sure.
And so some of our past are a little bit more authentic than others and in depth to the severity of it. And so I am a two-time suicide survivor, attempted suicide survivor. And so building off of that, we have a lot of people that we don't understand that are committing suicide or leaving us or
Sure.
depression and anxiety. And so our ministry really was based off of what can we do to help? What can we do to help people who feel in their darkest hour that there's no hope? And so really our encounter ministry is to have an encounter with God first.
Sure.
That way, and we are the hands and feet and eyes and mouth of God. And so to have an encounter, and so we witness an outreach to a lot of people who feel misplaced, feel rejected, feel like they don't fit. That's part of, where our major hub comes from. But then we also, as Eddie said, we do outreach. We try to find that need of where do we need to step in? Where can we assist?
Sure.
And so, that's where people like Eddie and Tom, they come on board and they put this together. It's them, it's a group and team effort, but they're so gifted in like this Michael disaster relief project. They're like, where can we help? How can we do it? And then they just make phone calls. It seems so easy, but I know it's not. It's a lot of work. And so Encounter, we're just like, hey, we want to be a part of this. We want to figure out where we can help and assist. And so,
well, and I think that's something that about this community in particular, because I've had the opportunity to live in a few different places here in Georgia. When I first moved here, I started figuring out that this is very much a community that serves each other, but they serve the community in general, not just the community here. When you have something like Shop with a Cop, or you have something like Encounter Ministries that is reaching out to people at their most vulnerable, I feel like that is in and of itself the purest form of assistance, being able to help and serve those who are at their most vulnerable. And I really feel like that it just seems like a great effort here in Florida, because you want to talk about vulnerable.
Right.
Imagine these folks that have lost their homes, their jobs, in some cases relatives. I mean, there are loved ones that have been lost in the disaster.
And this can take many, many years for people to recover
Absolutely.
from
And I
it.
think that's something that
Absolutely.
people don't realize. And that's kind of something I wanted to ask you about. I mean, we're talking about a hurricane relief. And by the way, just to make sure everyone knows what we're talking about, this Friday and Saturday, November 16th and 17th, there is going to be a Hurricane Michael disaster relief for communities down in Florida, Panama City, areas around Panama City like Lynn Haven, Mexico Beach. These are towns that have been, in some cases, completely wiped off the map.
Absolutely.
And from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., they're going to be doing a relief drive for particular items like clothes, toiletries, baby food and diapers, feminine products, cleaning supplies, non-perishable foods and water. Let's talk about the need down there in Florida, because I think some listeners, they might think, oh, I brought some toilet paper and cleaning supplies a while back when Southwire very graciously put together their hurricane relief drive. I mean, is it really necessary for me to bring more? Well, we're here to tell you, folks, it is necessary.
Absolutely.
And we have the people right here to tell you. So
Right. I think just because we see something not advertised to the point that gets our attention, it doesn't mean the need's not there. But a lot of times we adapt to out of sight, out of mind.
Sure.
To where we're like, oh, they're good. Insurance is kicked in now. FEMA's down there. Red Cross is down there. But we don't understand that in a community, and I just want to say too, the reason I got so passionate about Panama City, it's close. It's
Sure.
a close, city that's close to us. But that's where we spend our childhood vacations.
I mean, is it not an
And it's-
extension of your community? It's an extension of your home.
Absolutely. And that's what really got me on board, because I was like, oh my goodness, these people who serve us, these people when you check into a hotel, when you get your little items for the beach, this is people that are affected. And I thought, this is a connection to us. And that's the first thing, getting people to relate to the need. And I'm like, hey, we've all been at some point or another to Panama City Beach or to Panama City. Some of us were crazier in our younger years at Panama City
Sure.
Beach.
Yeah.
But it's still a part of our part of our community. And I think that's why I got really so passionate about it, because I could connect to it, and getting people to connect to know, hey, there's still roofs off. There's still power poles that are so mutilated in cities that it's going to take months and months. Yes, we're a month and a half past this.
Sure.
But there is still so much devastation, and there's people still living in such a rural part that electricity is still not present in some places.
Well, like Eddie was saying a second ago, we're talking about years of work ahead of us to help get this area built
And
back.
what you're saying, the insurance, I mean, there's a lot of people, imagine how many people that did not have flood insurance,
Right.
that can't get flood insurance or didn't have flood insurance if those homes are not covered through their insurance program.
That's an unbelievable tragedy. I mean, essentially, you're left, as we mentioned earlier, at your most vulnerable state. And what a blessing is it that there are folks in communities here.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying that we're that far away, but, we're in a totally different state. The fact that you feel that vulnerability, what they are going through right now, and as you mentioned earlier, going on these vacations, I mean, that is an extension of your home. When you have some place like that I know all of us goes down and eats at Angelo's and goes to Captain Anderson's, hits up the beach, that is like, it's very important to us. For people in this area.
One thing I wanted to touch about is your suicidal, that you said you recovered from suicidal, but think about this, it's during and this what excited me, that we are actually doing this near Thanksgiving.
Oh,
and
it's
what
wonderful.
is normally what is around Thanksgiving and the holidays is people get depressed and suicidal and
Stressed.
they get really stressed, and it is just such a blessing to be able to do a food drive and then go down and deliver it and minister to people that be able to that are going through a depression point of their lives through the holidays. So to me it's a wonderful time to do it, even a month and a half to 2 months out
You're-
from the actual
You're
day.
very right. It as we've seen, around the holidays, that is when people tend to feel they're most alone. And we're here to let the folks know down there in Florida that you are not alone. We're going to get more into this here in a second. We're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, Tanner Health Systems.
At Tanner, we're advancing health throughout West Georgia and East Alabama because we know that exceptional care isn't based on how many patients we serve, but how well we serve them. That's why we're focused on quality, delivering the best possible care for our patients. It's why we're expanding our clinical services and building new facilities to serve our growing community. And it's why we're looking beyond our hospitals and medical practices to develop sustainable wellness and preventive health programs in our region. What makes a hospital great has changed. It's not how many beds we have. It's how well we care for the neighbors who need them. Delivering the right care to every patient, every time, is how Tanner is advancing health with medicine beyond measure. Learn more at tanner.org or find a physician on our medical staff by calling 770-214-CARE.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Sing, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Welcome back to Community Voice here on WLBB News Talk AM 1330, FM 106.3. For those just tuning in with us, we are talking about this weekend's Hurricane Michael Disaster Relief Project, which is going to be at the Kroger Shopping Center on November 16th and 17th, this Friday and Saturday, from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. We're joined here today with Eddie LeBlanc, Pastor Kevin Rains, and we're actually about to speak with Miss Anna Maddox, a close affiliate and member of Encounter Ministries. Anna, we were just talking about during the break. So there is a need. Yeah. This isn't something that just can be corrected, in a month and a half, as we were talking earlier. The damage that has been wrought down there. Kevin was mentioning to me that a pastor down there actually reached out to you guys,
Yes.
About the grave need, and this is something that your dad Thomas and I were talking
Yes.
about. Is that there are communities down there, much like ours, that is not having aid directly brought to them,
Right.
that they're having to go 30, 50 miles just to get donated goods in the larger cities.
Absolutely.
I mean, and what if you don't have a car?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
so tell me a little bit more about how this took shape.
Yeah, so as you said, my dad, Thomas, he knew the pastor in Panama City. They actually kind of grew up together, went to school together. And so when the hurricane took place, he reached out to my dad and said, hey, can you guys help us? We're in dire need, and the main thing that they needed at the time was water. And so kind of how this all came about, my dad, was kind of, we were talking together, and I heard the conversation with, the worship pastor from Lynn Haven, I believe is where he's at, his church is actually located. And he was like, man, can you just get us some water down here? Like, you guys don't understand just the dire need for water.
Yeah, water
and we take that
everywhere.
for granted.
There's
Yeah,
nothing to drink.
I mean,
It's salt water.
Yeah, and we just and so we we got a little drive put together just at where we host, which is actually at CMB Rentals, which is where Eddie owns business there, and so
Sure.
we host our services there for right now until we move into our building. But
A church without walls.
yeah,
I like it.
yeah, basically. So yeah, we kind of just got a quick drive together down there just to get water. And I mean, talk about community. The community came together within 24 hours, and we packed a trailer full of water just to send down there, and so they had water, and we got the pictures. I mean, and their church is demolished. I mean, the cities are, like, I've seen pictures and videos from when my dad and Eddie did go down, and I mean, it's completely,
We're talking about
demolished,
a testament to the inherent decency of this community. I like to
Yeah.
say people in general,
Right.
but people want to help.
Yeah, in this community, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, and my dad was just saying too that 2,200 people just a week or so ago. How long was that?
Yeah, he had reached out last week, I
Last
believe. Or
week.
talked to him last week, where 2,200 people, the
2,200
church was
people.
feeding a day, that still
in
needed
need.
help.
Yeah, still in need and needing help. So it's vital.
Wow.
It's vital that
It's
we get
very
down
vital.
there.
I mean, and I mean, what you just mentioned there, I mean, they are just hands to help. I mean, I've heard that a lot of these, you'll have nonprofit groups and these groups that will bring goods, but I mean, And again, I'm so thankful to the larger, more established groups that will drop relief materials off, but they tend to just drop it off and leave.
Right. Right.
I mean, when you have community-based individuals like yourself that can bring, you're not just going to drop them off. You're actually going to try to do your best to help administer them.
Absolutely.
And that means a lot.
Well, also Russum Trucking that you mentioned on here, they're part of our organization as well, or partner with us with Encounter Ministries, and they literally, when Eddie was calling, when they were arranging, our first load was a van and a pull behind trailer,
Yes,
a
yes.
covered trailer, but then they jumped on board with Russum and they were like, we have transfer trucks, we have trailers, it's they're ready, they're ready, we will drive them down there, figure out how. And so with Eddie and with Tom and with Cheryl and with Rusty, they've organized this to where it's like the semis were already provided, the trailers were provided, they're there, and all it was, hey, let's get the community involved. And that's what they've been doing. They still run their businesses, they still run their own lives, but they've been dedicating so much in trying to make sure. And what simplicity of the Bible, that's they're in need of water. And how many times in the wilderness we see people in need of water. Yeah. And I just thought it's like a modern day need that still exists, that's when devastation hits.
The weary, in need with thirst.
With thirst. And it's just, and how you have water all around you, but yet you can't partake in it because, you have, and it requires another human being to provide water. And that's what I think that's the implement of Jesus, is to provide the water, the living water, to say, hey, a smile and water can really go a long way.
And just to let someone know, we were talking about this right before we took a break, but just to let someone know that you're not alone.
Right.
There are communities just like yours that, if the roles were reversed, would need help. Right. And a community like theirs, like Lynn Haven or Panama City, I want to believe, in fact, I know that if the roles were reversed, they would be doing collections just like this for Carrollton. We are just not in the same, economic area. I mean, the same ecological environment. We don't have to worry about hurricanes, but, we might have to worry about something else. We might have to worry about fires. We might have to worry about, anything that you could possibly imagine that we'd have to deal with. I mean, this is the time of year, as Eddie was mentioning a second ago, where a lot of folks feel at their most alone and at their most vulnerable.
That we also, South Georgia got hit, and we've actually taken a few things down to Albany. So we've had some people in Albany to reach out to us, and in that South Georgia area, I mean, it came through there as well. So yes, we're doing the disaster relief this weekend for the Michael disaster relief. We're doing that, but we're also in connection, and fragments of what we're doing also is being placed in the hands of Georgians as well, because South Georgia was affected too, so that's, so it's more than just what we really talk about. It's not that we're just loading, we're just these outreachers, I call them outreachers,
sure,
and disciples. They're not just going and dropping this off, giving a high five, a pat on the back, and leaving. They're putting hands on. And that's what I want to say. When you donate this weekend, when you give, you're giving a smile, you're giving a hug, you're giving hands that's helping. You're a part of something that we're not just taking a trailer, unloading it, slapping them on the back and leaving. We are ministering to them as well, and with the smile, with a hug, with an embracement. So when you give this weekend, you're not just giving a pallet of water to where it's just no face and no name. We're telling people, this is Carrollton, Georgia. This is Carrollton people, and we're embracing people, and we're loving on people, not just dropping.
We as a community have the opportunity to serve as a vessel for God's grace.
Absolutely.
We are bringing that love and those
Absolutely.
blessings to this community at their lowest, at a time when they could not feel more alone. And just a reminder to those who are listening, this is a very important topic. I'm so glad that we're talking about this, and that this is something that the community has taken upon themselves to make happen. This weekend, Friday and Saturday. I say weekend, but it's Friday. Friday and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 at the Kroger Shopping Center. So you got no excuse. You're right there next to Kroger. They're going to be having a continued Hurricane Michael disaster relief drive for those that are still suffering. Communities just like ours, communities exactly like ours that have been subjected to an immense amount of devastation due to Hurricane Michael. Now we're going to talk about some of the items that we need. So I'll tell you what. How about Anna? How about you give us a bit more of an idea of what is needed?
Yes, so I mean, clothing, obviously, you know, a lot of people, their clothes were ruined, and I mean, probably, you know, drifted away somewhere in the water,
Sure,
in the
of
ocean,
course.
you know. So we need clothes, all sizes, toiletries, baby food and diapers. I mean,
Oh,
I can
my
only
goodness.
I can
Of
only
course.
imagine the moms down there who are stressing because,
Baby wipes.
yeah, baby wipes, diapers, you know, baby food, all that good stuff.
It's
feminine
stressful
products.
enough to get all these materials
Yeah.
when everything's normal.
And you're trying to
Imagine.
figure out how to take care of your children, you know. So if we got
Yeah.
any mamas listening, you know what we're talking about. Cleaning supplies. I mean, there's people trying to clean up, get everything, you know, together. Non-perishable foods is a big thing. People without power, you know, if they're not able to cook or have a refrigerator, you know, so like boxed items, crackers, I mean, stuff like that. And water, again, is a really big need for items needed. So
Sure.
I'm excited. I'm just excited how we can all come together and bring these items and get these people, you know, have their needs met.
And also, Eddie can tell about how they don't have to go purchase this. They don't. You don't have to go purchase this. There's people there at the drop off site that you can actually just make a donation, and our team and the teams from the FOP, they will I don't know the stands.
Yeah, the mic's alive.
There you go.
It's really excited about what we're talking about.
It's just raising up.
Yeah,
It's like,
just-
I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in. But you can actually just make a donation, or if you want to bring $5 or you want to bring $10, and you're like, hey, I don't want to stress on going and picking this stuff
Sure.
up. There's actually people that will be there that can go in the store and shop for you. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And we actually met with Kroger yesterday. I met with the Kroger manager yesterday. He's bringing in an abundance of supplies of certain items that the hurricane relief drive might need and have it ready for people if they would like to purchase it.
Fantastic.
it's-
Thank you,
it's-
Kroger, for getting in on this. This is
Absolutely.
great.
Absolutely.
Well, we're going to talk more about this here in a moment. We're going to take a quick break and hear from our sponsor, Tanner Health Systems.
At Tanner, we're advancing health throughout West Georgia and East Alabama because we know that exceptional care isn't based on how many patients we serve, but how well we serve them. That's why we're focused on quality, delivering the best possible care for our patients. It's why we're expanding our clinical services and building new facilities to serve our growing community. And it's why we're looking beyond our hospitals and medical practices to develop sustainable wellness and preventive health programs in our region. What makes a hospital great has changed. It's not how many beds we have. It's how well we care for the neighbors who need them. Delivering the right care to every patient, every time, is how Tanner is advancing health with medicine beyond measure. Learn more at tanner.org or find a physician on our medical staff by calling 770-214-CARE.
Yes, His promises are yes and amen. So be it unto you, just expect.
And welcome back to Community Voice here on WLBB News Talk, AM 1330, FM 106.3. If you're just tuning in, we are talking about this weekend's Hurricane Michael Disaster Relief Project being put on by the Fraternal Order of Police, Russum Trucking, and our friends, great friends, over here at Encounter Ministries. Speaking about Encounter Ministries, we have Chris Lewis. I don't know if listeners are noticing, but we have some really soothing, beautiful music as the intros and outros on this particular program. And if you're hearing it and you're liking it, that is Encounter Ministries Praise Band. Chris, tell us a little bit more about the band and anything else that you think might be helpful for this weekend.
Well, the worship band is actually Anna invited me when it first started out back in 2016. She invited me to Encounter, and that's how I got involved. But then when, pardon my voice, when I went off to college, I went to Columbus State University for music.
Sure.
And I studied there for 2 years, and I met our violin player, who's a part now, and our celloist and our bass player. And then they came apart. This was our last year at Columbus State University, and we went full-time ministry. And so, it's really great getting to worship with a team that's unified, who's not afraid to venture out into new ideas and to really minister wherever we go. And that's really what we do. Whether it's in our service, or whether it's at a place we go in a booking, or whether it's on the square, whether it's in a restaurant like Taco Bell, wherever we can minister to those who need it, we're all for it.
And there's a need everywhere.
There is.
Anywhere
There really
you
is.
go, there they are.
They're there. And so, yeah, it's really great. And as far as those who, reaching out to college students who want to help but aren't sure, as we mentioned before the break, you don't have to go and buy things. There are people there who can go in and shop. So if you want to just bring a donation, those college students, if you want to just bring $5 or $10, anything helps.
Sure.
It goes a long way.
Actually, Eddie was talking to me about this last week. Ideally, we would love some donated goods that we can bring to the victims down there in Florida. If you don't have time, you're unable to do that, some money would go a long way to help get those supplies for them.
Most definitely.
And even beyond that, if you can't do that, there is one thing that you can give the victims of Hurricane Michael down there in Florida. And as Eddie so eloquently put it, we need prayers.
Right.
If you
Most
are in
definitely.
a capacity to give prayers, that is so meaningful right now.
Right.
Because even if we're not, I know we can only do so much,
Right.
but God can do a lot more than we'd ever think
Right.
about doing.
That's very
so
true.
that's fantastic.
And I think we're going to have a prayer tent as well, right? Is that, Eddie?
That's our goal, that we're going to try to set up some type of prayer tent for people
Okay.
that are needing prayer, that we'll have a prayer tent set up.
That's
We
fantastic.
can actually sit with them and pray with them and listen to them.
So this is not only a hurricane drive to help those that are still suffering down there in Florida, but if you're suffering here, if you need help, there are folks with the Fraternal Order of Police and with Encounter Ministries that are willing and wanting to help you find some peace, to help you find your own whatever they can bring to you to give you some peace. I think that's a major point that I hope listeners are taking home is there are good people here that want to help, not just Panama City, not just Mexico Beach, but people here that are in need of prayers and assistance.
Also talking about the college students, it just loves
mic
to
is
raise
so
on me.
excited. It's so excited.
Talking about the college students, if you can't give, yes, you can pray. But also, if someone gets this message out to their grandson or granddaughter or son and daughter, and say, hey, my child or my grandchild loves to be a part of outreach, and they're in college at West Georgia, you can come. This is from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. this Friday and Saturday. You can donate even if it's an hour. We could use muscles. We can use extra hands to load. If they want to come and just be a part, to just say, I can come for an hour, 2 hours, I can come in between class. We're not opposed to even, they can come and literally physically just help put on the trailer. There's people who love to do that. I know I did when I was younger. I was like, what can I do to help? So if you're listening and you have a college student or you have somebody here at West Georgia that you're like, hey, go help these people. They may need some extra hands to load cases of water or something. We're not opposed. Just come. We will, for as long as you can, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever it is, come and be a part of this, just to say, hey, I helped.
Yep.
And let me follow up just a little bit on that. Thomas Maddox has actually got a schedule together where we're doing shifts from 9 to 2 and 2 to 7 p.m. Friday and Saturday. If you'd like to sign up, you can call Thomas Maddox at 678-850-7054, or you call myself at 770-318-5618.
Well, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Community Voice. Don't forget, Kroger Shopping Center this Friday and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Bring goods, bring prayers, money, or just your muscles. Thank you guys so much for being here today, and thank you for listening.
Thank you.